You're listening to Edgereel, skill thrills and business chills. Join hosts Laura and Brian as they explore the skills and insights you need to succeed in today's business world. Let's dive in.
Ever slam your laptop shut in the middle of a meeting? That could have been an email.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you've perfected the art of using the bathroom just to escape that one coworker.
Right.
Who seems to have mastered the art of awkward small talk.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Those moments where work life, let's just say, tests our patience.
Mm-hmm.
And that, my friend, is precisely why we're diving headfirst into the world of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Ready to up our workplace game?
Let's do it.
I've got our resident EI guru here with me today.
Hey, everyone.
So no more pretending that spreadsheet is attacking you when you're stressed.
Right.
We're going to unpack this whole emotional intelligence thing.
Okay.
What it is, why it matters, and how to actually use it. So we're not, secretly Googling how to fake a doctor's note at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Right. Sounds good.
Because, let's be real, work would be so much smoother if we could, read each other's minds.
Right.
Or, at least understand why that one coworker always seems to be allergic to deadlines. But since telepathy isn't a job requirement yet,
Right.
emotional intelligence, or EI, as the cool kids call it, is the next best thing.
Exactly. I think of it kind of like a workplace survival guide.
Ooh, workplace survival guide. Love it.
Right. It's like that toolkit you can pull out to help you navigate the ups and downs of, office life, those interpersonal dynamics.
So we're talking about, not launching into a full-on coffee-deprived rant when the printer jams again.
Well, that too. But really, it's about understanding and managing not just your own emotions, but also being really tuned in to the emotions of the people around you.
So less meltdown mode and more managed response kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices about how you respond in different situations.
Okay, I'm all for making more conscious choices. Especially before I accidentally reply all to an email with my deepest, darkest, coffee-fueled thoughts.
Oh, we've all been there.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to boost our EI, let's break down what it actually looks like in practice.
Yeah, it's like having this internal GPS, but for your feelings, right?
Right.
You learn to recognize, okay, what am I feeling in this moment? Why am I feeling that?
Oh, interesting. So it's like labeling your emotions, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Are you stressed? Are you excited? Are you frustrated? But then taking it a step further and thinking, okay, why? What's causing this feeling? And then once you've kind of unpacked that a little bit, then you can use that information to make a conscious choice about how you're going to respond.
Okay, so it's not about suppressing your emotions and pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows all the time.
No, not at all. It's more about understanding them, right? Because when you understand them, you can manage them more effectively.
Right. It's knowledge is power when it comes to your own feelings.
Exactly.
So less about being an emotionless robot, more about being an emotionally intelligent human.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
I like that. But okay, let's get practical. How do we actually start to develop this emotional intelligence? I feel like it's one of those things that's easier said than done, right?
Right. You're right. But it's not some kind of mystical thing that some people are just born with and some people aren't.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I was about to ask for the secret handshake for the emotionally intelligent club.
We'll have to work on that. But really, it's a skill. And like any other skill, you can learn it and you can improve it over time with, effort and practice.
That's reassuring.
Right.
Because I'm definitely still a work in progress.
Aren't we all? But to make this whole EI thing a little less overwhelming, we often break it down into these 5 key areas. Sometimes they're called the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence.
Okay, so it's like building a house.
Ooh.
We need those solid pillars to hold up the awesomeness that is our emotionally intelligent selves.
I love that analogy. So those 5 pillars are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. We'll explore each of these in more detail, but just to kind of give you a sneak peek into what we're talking about.
Okay, so 5 areas to focus on for a less stressful, more successful pilot at work. But before we get into each pillar, why should we, as in you listening right now, care about this whole emotional intelligence thing?
That's a great question because here's the thing. You could have all the technical skills in the world, right? Like, you could be the absolute best at what you do technically.
You could be a spreadsheet wizard.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you can't navigate the whole, like, human side of work, if you can't manage your emotions, if you can't build relationships with your coworkers, you're not going to reach your full potential.
So it's not just about, like, being nice at work.
No, not exactly. Although being nice is, generally a good strategy.
Right.
But it's about so much more than that. It's about being effective, right? It's about influence. It's about leadership. It's about creating a positive and productive work environment for yourself and for everybody around you.
It's like that secret sauce,
It really is.
that elevates you from good to exceptional. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold. But I need a visual. So paint me a picture. Give me a scenario where this whole emotional intelligence thing really comes into play.
Okay. Picture this.
Yeah.
You are about to grab that last chocolate donut from the office kitchen. You know, the one you've been thinking about all morning.
Oh, the one with sprinkles.
Yes, the one with sprinkles.
Don't tell me.
You get there and it's gone.
No.
And not only is it gone,
Right.
but you see your coworker walking away, a little crumb on their face.
The ultimate betrayal. Okay, so my emotionally unintelligent self wants to, like, demand a bite of that donut.
Right.
But what's the emotionally intelligent approach in that moment?
Right. So that's exactly where emotional intelligence comes into play, right?
Yep.
Because your initial reaction, that's natural, to be upset, right?
Yeah.
But emotional intelligence gives you the power to choose a different response.
Okay, so instead of, like, tackling my coworker for the last donut,
Right.
what's a better way to handle that?
Well, first, take a breath, maybe 2 or 3. And then instead of going straight to, like, accusation and anger, maybe you approach it with a little bit of humor, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, man, you beat me to it. I was eyeing that donut all morning.
Right.
Or even better, you could say something like, hey, I was really craving that donut, but I'm glad you got to enjoy it. Maybe next time we can split one.
Ooh, okay, so turning a potential donut disaster into an opportunity for, like, bonding and maybe future pastry negotiations.
Yeah.
I like it. This is why you're the expert. But knowing myself, I'd probably need a whole lot of self-regulation in that donut scenario.
Right. We all have those areas where we can, grow. But before I contemplate any more donut-related dilemmas, let's take a break, and then we'll come back and we're going to dive into each of those 5 pillars of emotional intelligence, starting with self-awareness.
All right, so we're back, armed with our metaphorical coffee
Yeah.
and ready to tackle the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence.
Let's do it.
And first up, self-awareness. But, like, what does that actually mean? Is it just, like, knowing when you're hangry?
Well, it's a good start, right? Recognizing those moments when your stomach is basically staging a hostile takeover of your brain.
Yeah.
But self-awareness goes a little deeper than just, like, knowing when you need a snack. It's really about being able to tune in to your own emotions, kind of like having this internal radar system, right?
Okay.
It's about noticing, like, okay, what am I feeling in this moment? But then also understanding, like, how is this emotion, whatever it is, how is it impacting my behavior? How is it influencing how I'm showing up in this meeting? How is it affecting the way I'm communicating with my coworkers?
And how other people are perceiving me.
Exactly. Because sometimes, like, how we think we're coming across and how we're actually perceived by others, those are 2 very different things.
Oh, 100%. I've definitely been on the receiving end of a few misunderstood tone emails in my day.
Right. And those can be tricky to navigate. But that's why self-awareness is so important, because it allows us to kind of step back and say, okay, before I hit send on this email, maybe I should reread it just to make sure that my tone is actually conveying what I intended to convey.
So it's like that pause before you post on social media, but
Yeah.
for your work life.
Exactly.
Okay, love it. So how do we start to actually cultivate this self-awareness superpower?
So it starts with paying attention, right? Like really tuning into yourself throughout the day. And I know that sounds super simple,
Right.
but we live in a world where we're so used to, like, multitasking and, going a million miles an hour that we often forget to just, like, slow down and check in with ourselves.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like our to-do lists are a mile long,
Yeah.
and we forget to put check in with my emotions on there.
Exactly. So maybe try actually scheduling it in, like block out even just 5 minutes in your calendar every day.
Okay.
And just find a quiet space and ask yourself, like, okay, how am I feeling right now?
Oh, and be honest with ourselves.
Yes. Brutally honest even, like no judgment, just like pure observation.
Okay.
And then you can start to notice those patterns, right? Like maybe you realize that you tend to get more easily stressed out in the afternoons. Or maybe you notice that you're more productive when you start your day with a workout or a good breakfast.
Or maybe you're just like a morning person who secretly resents the invention of the afternoon meeting.
Right. We've all been there.
But once we're like aware of those patterns, then what? Does that lead us to the next pillar? Self-regulation.
You got it. Self-regulation is all about like, what do we do with those emotions once we've kind of like identified them?
It's like emotional intelligence 2.0.
Yeah.
We've leveled up. We're aware. Now what?
Exactly. So self-regulation is essentially the ability to kind of manage those emotions in a way that's like healthy and productive and appropriate for the situation.
So less Hulk smash and more calm, cool, and collected professional.
Exactly. It's about choosing how you're going to respond to those emotions rather than just like letting them control you.
Okay. I'm already feeling more than just thinking about it.
Right. It's a good feeling.
It is. But let's be real. Easier said than done. Right. Especially in the heat of the moment, like when you're about to send that strongly worded email or you're like seconds away from a full-on desk flip in the middle of a meeting.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there. But that's why it's called self-regulation, right? It's a practice. And like any practice, it takes like time and effort and consistency.
Okay, so give us some of those practical tips. What are some things we can actually do to up our self-regulation game?
Yeah.
So help us out. What are some of those tactical, in-the-moment things we can do? Because sometimes my brain is like 2 seconds away from a meltdown and I need a strategy, like yesterday.
Right. And it's different for everybody, right? Like what works for one person might not work for another.
Okay, true.
But one thing that I always recommend is like the classic take a deep breath.
Okay.
I know it sounds like super basic and cliche,
Right.
but honestly, like when we're stressed, our breathing gets all like shallow and erratic, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And so by consciously slowing down your breath, you're actually like hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Oh, so there's actual science behind it. It's not just like a woo-woo.
No. There's like tons of research on this. It's like your brain on stress is a completely different thing than your brain when it's calm.
Okay, makes sense.
And sometimes like all you need is that little pause, that deep breath to kind of shift out of fight or flight mode and into like, okay, I can handle this mode.
So deep breaths. Got it. What else?
Another good one is to just like change your physical environment for a minute. So if you can, like, step away from your desk, even if it's just for like 5 minutes, go for a walk, get some fresh air.
Right. Sometimes you just need to escape the fluorescent lighting for a hot second.
Exactly. And even if you can't, like, physically leave the building, you know, maybe just stand up, stretch, look out the window for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Like, just give yourself a little bit of distance from whatever it is that's stressing you out.
So we're giving our brains a break.
Exactly. It's like sometimes you just got to hit the refresh button.
Okay, love it. So deep breaths, change of scenery. Any other like secret weapons in the self-regulation arsenal?
Let me think. Oh, this one might sound a little weird, but I swear it works. Try smiling.
Wait, really? Like fake it till you make it when it comes to feeling calmer?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because our facial expressions, they actually send feedback to our brains.
Oh, interesting.
So even if you don't feel like smiling, the act of smiling can actually like trick your brain into feeling a little bit happier.
Okay, that's super fascinating. And easy enough to do, right? No one's going to judge you for smiling at your desk.
Exactly. And you might even notice that it like brightens up the mood of the people around you too.
Ooh, contagious calmness. I like it. This self-regulation thing is powerful.
It really is. And the more you practice it, the easier it gets. It's like building a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay, I'm sold. Self-regulation, it's a go.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next pillar, motivation. What is it and why does it matter in the workplace?
So motivation is all about that like internal drive. It's that, you know, that fire in your belly that gets you excited about work, that keeps you going even when things get tough.
Okay, so less about like external rewards like bonuses and promotions.
Right.
And more about like finding that inner spark that makes you excited to like tackle your to-do list.
Exactly. It's about feeling passionate about the work that you're doing and feeling like you're making a difference.
I feel like that could be hard to tap into sometimes.
It can be, especially if you're feeling like stuck in a rut or you're not really sure what your purpose is.
Right. We've all been there.
But it's worth it to take the time to really figure out like what makes you tick. Because when you're intrinsically motivated, when you're doing work that you care about, it stops feeling like work.
Okay, so how do we actually find that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like some people know their passion from like day one, and others are still searching for it.
And that's okay. It's a journey.
Right.
And for some people, it takes longer than others to figure out like what they're really passionate about.
Right.
But one way to start is to think about like, what are you naturally drawn to? Like, what kind of activities do you lose yourself in?
Interesting. Like, what do you do in your free time that makes you completely forget to check your phone?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because those are usually clues about like what lights you up.
Okay. I like that. So pay attention to those moments of flow, those things you're naturally drawn to.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to like experiment a little bit, you know?
Right.
Try new things. Step outside of your comfort zone. You never know what might spark your passion.
Okay. I love that. It's like our motivation is out there. We just have to like uncover it.
Exactly. It's about finding that thing that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning.
Okay. Motivation. Check. Let's move on to the next pillar. Empathy. Now, I feel like this one's huge, especially in a workplace setting, right?
Right.
Because we're not always going to like everyone we work with.
Right. And you don't have to. That's not what empathy is about. It's not about like being best friends with everybody or agreeing with everybody all the time.
Okay, that's good because I'm pretty sure my office nemesis and I are not going to be braiding each other's hair anytime soon.
Right. It's more about understanding.
Okay.
It's about trying to see the world from the other person's perspective, even if you don't necessarily agree with them.
So walking a mile in their shoes, even if their shoes are like 2 sizes too small.
Exactly. Because when you can understand where someone is coming from, it's a lot easier to like communicate with them effectively, to resolve conflicts, and to build strong relationships.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how do we practice empathy, especially when we're like stressed or frustrated or, dealing with that one coworker who seems determined to push all our buttons?
It's tough. It's definitely a practice,
Yeah.
right? But one of the most powerful things you can do is to just like listen.
Okay.
Really listen. Like not just waiting for your turn to talk, but actually trying to understand what the other person is saying.
So like putting away the phone, silencing the inner monologue in our heads, and actually turning in to what they're saying.
Exactly. And it's not just about the words either, right? It's about their body language, their tone of voice.
Like, are they making eye contact? Are they fidgeting? Are they like secretly sending smoke signals with their intense stare?
Right. You're picking up on those cues. And then once you've like really listened to what they have to say, maybe try reflecting back what you've heard.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're feeling frustrated because, and that does 2 things. 1, it makes sure that you're actually understanding what they're saying.
Yeah.
And 2, it shows them that you're actually listening, which can go a really long way in, like building trust and rapport.
Okay, that's a really good point. So active listening is key.
Exactly. It's like the foundation of empathy.
Love it. All right, the final pillar of emotional intelligence, social skills. What comes to mind when you hear that phrase? Because I'm picturing like awkward office parties and forced small talk by the water cooler.
Oh, yeah, I feel you. But honestly, like, social skills are so much more than that. It's not about being like the most extroverted person in the room or being able to like charm your way through any conversation.
Okay, so less about being the office social butterfly.
Exactly. It's more about like building and maintaining healthy, productive relationships with the people around you.
Okay, so more about connection and less about like winning a popularity contest. Exactly, and it's something that you can like work on and improve on over time, just like any other skill.
Okay, that's good to know. So what are some like concrete things we can do to sharpen our social skills at work?
Well, first of all, remember what we talked about earlier, self-awareness.
Right, knowing our own communication style.
Exactly, because once you're aware of your own style, you can start to like adapt and adjust it depending on who you're talking to.
Right, so like tailoring our approach based on whether we're talking to our boss or a coworker or that one client who only communicates through memes.
Exactly. It's about being flexible, and it's also about being respectful of other people's communication styles, right? Like some people are super direct,
Right.
and others like they take a little bit longer to get to the point. And being able to kind of like meet people where they are is so important in building strong relationships.
Okay, that's a really good point. So being aware of our own style and then also being able to like read the room and adjust accordingly.
Exactly. It's like social chameleon skills.
I love it. So being a social chameleon, being an active listener, and really trying to connect with our coworkers on a human level.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, we're all just humans trying to navigate this crazy thing called work, right?
So true. We're all in this together. Well, this has been incredibly eye-opening. But alas, we've reached the end of our emotional intelligence deep dive.
Uh-huh.
But don't worry, this isn't goodbye. It's more like, see you in the break room for a donut.
Right.
Hopefully I get there before you do this time.
Oh, the race is on.
It's always on. But in all seriousness, thanks for breaking down these 5 pillars of emotional intelligence in a way that even my sleep-deprived brain can understand.
Anytime. It's been fun. And remember, everyone, like, emotional intelligence is a journey.
Right.
It's not about being perfect. It's about being, like, a little bit better every day.
That's such a great point. And I feel like that's a good note to end on. Progress over perfection.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this episode, remember to subscribe and leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep those emotional intelligence muscles flexed.
Bye, everyone.